In this video, you will discover a fact about each character from GTA 5. Obviously, I won't be able to catalog all the characters 100%, but all those who had enough information for me to make a video, whether they are secondary characters, TV characters, or anything like that, I am bringing them here for you. So if you enjoy the channel, go ahead and like and subscribe right at the beginning of this video. I think you're gonna love it, and hit the bell icon if you're already subscribed. Alright, so let's get started. Abigail Mathers. Abigail can be found by Michael DeSanta in a Stranger and Freaks mission right after purchasing the sonar dock. When Michael meets her, she talks about the death of her husband Frank, who drowned while testing the submarine. She asks Michael to search for submarine debris so she could prove to the insurance company that he really died in an accident, and after all the parts are collected, Michael mentions that there was sabotage in the air chamber. The interesting part here is that it suggests she always knew the truth, and she made people believe or wanted confirmation that it wouldn't be possible to prove sabotage, and in fact, Michael did. In the end, it's up to the player to kill her or not. Agent 14. Agent 14 is a character from the GTA series who appears as one of the main characters in GTA Online, introduced in the Heists update. This character knows Karen Daniels, who was also in GTA 4, implying that they have some kind of bond or are just acquaintances. Agent ULP. Agent ULP is a character already known to those who played the previous game in the franchise GTA 4, as in that game he gave Nico various missions. Although we can kill this character in GTA 5, he later appears in GTA Online, confirming that his death in story mode is not canonical. Afrin Ward. I believe that's the correct pronunciation. Afrin Ward is only seen during a mission where Michael DeSanta takes his son, Jimmy DeSanta, to pick up some magical substances at Burger Shot. On this character's Burger Shot t-shirt, it says John Doe, equivalent to Joe Blow in the US. Al Di Napoli. Al Di Napoli is a film and theater actor. The Vinewood Star Tours guide claims that Al Di Napoli suffered an overdose at the Grand Manor Hotel in 2002 after a chimpanzee shot a water pistol at his rear end with a water gun. Man, that's kind of bizarre. Albert Stally. Albert Stally can be seen during the jewelry store heist, scolding Franklin, complaining, and so on. He is later threatened by Michael as they and the team are going down in the jewelry store, and his name is only revealed when he is being interviewed by Weasel News, where Trevor ends up finding out everything about the heist and so on. Amanda DeSanta. Amanda DeSanta is the wife of one of the game's protagonists, in this case, Michael. Despite cheating on Michael frequently since the beginning of the game, actually even before that, according to her, she only started cheating on Michael after finding him with a stripper. Up until that moment, supposedly, she was a faithful wife. Andreas Sanchez, better known as Agent Sanchez, he is an agent of the FIB, and his most important appearance is in the mission The Wrap-Up, where he reveals himself as a traitor. A cool fact about this character is that he is the only one who has his head literally blown off, especially by a pistol shot. This doesn't happen to any other character, either in cutscenes or in regular gameplay. Antonia Bottino. Antonia Bottino is a character that appears in a random event at the top of the San Andreas map that you can do with the 3 characters. If you do this random event with Michael, there is a moment when she asks Michael what his name is, and he asks if he won't find a horse's head in his bed. This is clearly a reference to the movie The Godfather in a famous horse head scene in the film. This further evidences Michael's love for classic movies, even though The Godfather is never mentioned in the game. Rockstar took care to include this detail and make it very faithful to real life, thus A Matter of Mafia, etc. Ashley Butler. Ashley is Johnny Klebitz's addicted girlfriend, and even if you decide not to kill her right after killing Johnny, you will hear a news report on the radio stating that she died from an overdose while getting involved with older guys. Barry. Barry is a supporting character that appears in GTA 5, and in the second mission with Franklin, you can steal a secret police vehicle that is monitoring a marijuana sale. Beverly Felton. Not much is known about Beverly's life before the events of the game, however. What can be gathered after getting to know him is that he is extremely dishonest, and for that reason, you can choose to kill him or not in the final mission. Bradley Snyder. The shot that Bradley took was actually meant for Trevor. Trevor was the one who was supposed to get shot, but Bradley accidentally stepped in front at that moment, and when Dave Norton pulled the trigger, the shot went right into Bradley's chest. Brucey Kibbutz. Brucey is a well-known character for those who played GTA 4. He appears a lot in GTA 4 and also in GTA Online, selling his testosterone. Bullshark, which reduces the level of damage your character can take, but for a limited time. Castro Logano. Castro Logano is a character that appears in one of the random events very close to Franklin's house in Vinewood. He has a wife who accuses him of cheating on her frequently, something that bothers her. She annoys him, so she puts him to live in the golf club, throwing all his clothes outside and such. In fact, Castro, he is like this, faithful, and he reveals this in the dialogue with Franklin. But according to his statements, he doesn't use golf to disguise his affairs, but but rather business trips where he changes his name, etc. And that's why he believes he is doing the right thing. Chef, just like Ron, seems to believe in some conspiracy theories, as during shootouts with cops, he often refers to them as reptilian, making several references to conspiracy theories and so on. Very similar to everything Ron rants about on his podcast on Blaine County Radio. Chop. While walking around with Chop, you can attack pedestrians if they are targets of Franklin or if they attack first. This can also result in a wanted level, even if Chop is the one attacking, up to 2 stars for Franklin, with the police shooting at both Chop and Franklin as well. Christian Feltz. Christian Feltz is a character you can use in the game heist. He will be available for all heists as a hacker, and if he is selected for the jewelry heist, for example, he will give you 1 minute to rob the store. Michael will get frustrated with this, asking if that's all we can get for a 10% cut. Clay Simon. Clay Simon was a lieutenant and captain of the Lost MC gang. As a captain, he delivers bikes to his club buddies, including Johnny Klebitz, who dies early on in GTA 5, and who can call him whenever he needs a bike and such. This happens a little more in the GTA 4 DLC. He assists Johnny in various missions and is one of the 4 main members of the Lost MC, who also dies along with Johnny Klebitz at the beginning of GTA 5. Cletus Ewing. Cletus Ewing, I think that pronunciation of his last name is really weird. In the first encounter with him in Sandy Shores, Trevor finds Cletus aiming with a sniper rifle. When asked what he's doing, Cletus replies that he's hunting and invites Trevor to join him. But at that moment, Cletus is not actually hunting. It's more like target practice with moving car tires and distant satellite dish. Chris Formage. Chris Formage, for those who don't know, is the guy who controls all of Epsilon within GTA 5, which is a group of side missions, etc. In GTA 5 online mode, when the player suffers their first death, it doesn't always happen, but 99% of the time, Chris Formage will appear flying as if he were a celestial being to inform about the passive ways for the player to not be killed by other characters. Mono D, in the mission where we have to capture Mono D while he's fleeing on a motorcycle, GTA 5 speedrunners have developed a route to crash head-on with the motorcycle before reaching the end of the mission. This is really tough, but it makes the mission jump straight to the cutscene, saving a few seconds for the speedrunners, as Mono D is programmed to progress in the mission as soon as he falls off the bike, regardless of whether he crashes up ahead or anywhere else in the game. Daryl Johns, despite being one of the worst heist characters you can choose in GTA 5 and certainly one of the cheapest, he's not the cheapest because of Taliana Martinez with 1% less, he is one of the most arrogant characters in heist throughout the game. If any other character dies during the mission where Daryl Johns is present, he will end up saying that person wasn't ready for it. Dave Norton. Dave Norton is a corrupt agent of the FIB who helps Michael with the whole informal witness protection scheme he supposedly entered. As soon as you start your campaign with Michael and call Dave Norton, you will have a secret call with him where he will ask about the kids, how life is going, among other things. This call is not standard in the game, so only if you call Dave before starting other missions with Michael will this call be able to happen. Deborah, although we don't know much about her, it seems like she is a lawyer who frequently travels abroad and therefore she has a very tense relationship with Floyd. Despite all of this, she seems to be cheating on Floyd with another lawyer from her firm named Bob. Denise Clinton. Denise Clinton is Franklin's aunt in GTA 5, and some fans of the GTA series, especially at the game's launch, used to say that she could be Denise Robinson from GTA San Andreas when she was younger. However, this theory is completely debunked by the fact that Denise from GTA San Andreas can be killed by CJ. And the second point is that these two games do not take place in the same universe. Devin Weston has his own website in the game, www.devinweston.com. According to his site, he earns over $12 billion a year, even though he has a 9-cm penis, which is totally unrelated, but oh well. Dom Beasley. Dom is constantly seen engaging in high-risk activities within GTA 5, such as skydiving or dirt bike race. His day job is as a hedge fund manager, and he is equally competitive and selfish in both scenarios. Don Percival. At the end of the game, if you choose option C, Percival will send an email to Michael DeSanta and Trevor Phillips explaining that he repurchased Devin Weston's shares in the company at a greatly reduced rate due to Devin's death, and that he will make a lot of money from it. He is very grateful. However, he warns both Michael and Trevor to never interfere in his business again. Eddie Toe in story mode is a character you can use in the game heist as a getaway driver. During the jewelry heist in story mode, when all the heist members reveal their past to each other, regardless of the character you choose, Eddie Toe is the only one who doesn't speak about himself. Instead of speaking, Michael talks about him saying, Eddie's been doing this for years. That's all you need to know about him for now. Elwood O'Neill is the leader member of the O'Neill brothers, a family of hillbilly methamphetamine dealers who are rivals of Trevor. He can be killed by Franklin, or he can also be killed killed by Michael in that mission where we take him out in the middle of the bush. When Franklin is chasing this character, if you switch to Michael, you can kill Elwood straight from the helicopter. Eva is the maid who lives in the DeSanta house, and she is always stealing from them. Several times you can see some dialogues like her saying, "I just take it home to clean," or she can also say, "I can't clean when people are watching me," implying that she gets a little paranoid when someone is watching her. And if Michael comes back home right after the meltdown mission where there is that huge shootout at Michael's house, she may end up scolding Michael. It really depends, okay? But she may end up scolding him, saying that killing the mercenaries will leave stains in the house. Fabien Larouche. Fabien is Amanda's yoga instructor, and we can see that he is very sleazy, hitting on Amanda and so on several times during the game, even making Michael very uncomfortable in several scenes. The thing here is that Fabien also has his own yoga website in the game, where you can see some images of him in poses similar to what he does with Amanda in the mission "Did Someone Say Yoga?", which suggests that Michael is not the only cuckold in Los Santos. Ferdinand Kerimov. Despite all the commotion that happened around this character, who is also known as Mr. K, he works only as a gadget technician and was subjected to torture, among other things, simply due to an internal war between the IAA and the FIB. Anyway, basically the guy has always been innocent. Floyd Hebert. Floyd is Wade's cousin, with whom we spend some time living with Trevor. After Floyd's death at the hands of Trevor or Deborah, Weasel News Radio broadcast the news that a man was found shot in the head and a woman was stabbed to death, implying that Deborah most likely shot Floyd. Out of anger, Trevor then took the knife from Floyd's hand and stabbed Deborah to death. Franklin Clinton. Despite having a cool physique, very athletic type, he is the only protagonist in the game who cannot play tennis. He doesn't play tennis by default, only Michael and Trevor. This reflects a little bit of reality because people coming from the ghetto don't tend to play tennis. I just think that one thing that was missing to make this very clear would be perhaps Franklin being able to play basketball while the other characters cannot. Gerald. Gerald is a character who appears in GTA Online, and he seems to have difficulty trusting new associates. He doesn't hesitate to tell the player to keep their mouth shut after delivering some substances to him, showing calmness, often using short words like nice or you did good. Gianni is an Italian-American criminal, not sure if Italian-American is the right term, who is the personal bodyguard and right-hand man of Rocco Pelosi within GTA 5. He is also a former gangster who worked for the Ancelotti crime family in Liberty City until 2002. He is a corrupt talent agent and promoter in Vinewood, who is currently operating in Los Santos. Graham, also known as the Vinewood Zombie in one of his lines, says he's smart because he studied philosophy. However, that didn't bring anything to his life and that he should have actually studied law. It's clear that Graham doesn't like his job due to the quotes he makes. Gray Nicholson, he can appear in a random event where a thief is about to steal or has already stolen your bike. If the player successfully retrieves his bike after some time, he will send an email to the protagonist who saved him, saying that he will reward him with 100,000 ores in Animal Arc stock. Very important, sell the Animal Arc stocks as soon as they come in, otherwise they will turn into a huge loss. How is a character that appears in both GTA Story Mode and GTA Online. In GTA Online, he shows up in the opening cutscene of the Los Santos car event in the Los Santos Tuners update. He is having a conversation with Mimi, boasting about his silver medal chat with Franklin, where Mimi claims How actually finished third when competing with Franklin. As the player approaches, he interrupts, and that's when the detailed introduction to the car event begins. Harold Joseph Stretch. Stretch is a highly respected character within the CGF, being an OG A Crazy Life. However, he proves to be a traitor in the game. In order for you to achieve the gold medal in option C, Michael, instead of killing Stretch with firearms, must beat him to death, in other words, only in hand-to-hand combat. Hugh Welsh. Welsh can be hired for the FIB heist. If the fire crew option is chosen, he can die during the mission. The only way for him to survive in the fire crew option is if he is chosen alongside Daryl Johns or Norm Richards, and this depends on whether he will be the first or second shooter. This makes all the difference. In the roof approach, he always survives without any complications. Interpreter for the Chengs, he is a member of the Los Santos Triads led by the Chinese Wei Cheng, and the name of this character is never revealed. He works as an English translator for Wei Cheng's son, Tao Cheng, who is unable to speak English correctly. Isaiah Friedlander. Isaiah Friedlander is Michael DeSantis' therapist, whom he visits in the game about once a week. He is portrayed as an over-the-top version of a Hollywood therapist. He is very expensive, as seen in an email where he raises fees by 75% and doesn't seem to care much about his patients and their problems. During Michael's therapy sessions, he is often seen looking at the clock, waiting for the session to end, and doesn't seem to care about Michael's behavior when he confesses that he is capable of killing without remorse or, well, various other bizarre stuff. James DeSanta, it seems that after the main campaign of the game, James starts chasing after getting a job and exercising. However, even when we see him much further ahead in GTA Online, in the casino heist, we see that he had practically no results if he really tried anything. Jaspers is a secondary character who dies early in the prologue, and we don't really find out much about this guard who appears there. But there is an interesting curiosity about his name. The name Jaspers is a Persian name that means a guardian or protector of treasure. This is possibly an Easter egg placed in the game by Rockstar, as Jaspers is protecting the money inside the vault, thus becoming a treasure protector. I don't know, just a mystery. Jay Norris. Jay Norris seems to be a combined parody of real-life Mark Zuckerberg, the president of Facebook, and Steve Jobs, the late founder and former CEO of Apple. JB Bradshaw, despite being a character only mentioned in the game, he is Tonya's fiance or boyfriend. He has a page on Life Invader, but his profile is private, signaling that he is hiding or simply that Rockstar did not want to further develop this character. Jessica White can be heard on Rebel Radio. He can also be seen in the game as one of the few DJs who make a physical appearance, just like Laszlo and another character here. You can find him near Alamo Sea in Sandy Shores, doing a little dance to the song If You Wanna Get to Heaven, which also plays on the radio. Jesse is a character at the Los Santos Pier who believes himself to be Jesus Christ. When approached, he always speaks biblical phrases. Apparently, he is under the influence of substances, with ramblings about things that make no sense. The funny thing is that if you approach him with Trevor, in fact, if he is approached by Trevor, they will share a resentment towards both father figures. But if you go with Franklin or Michael, he will say that your father is wonderful and that he loves everyone. Jimmy Boston. Jimmy Boston is an actor, philosopher, and environmental activist who appears in GTA 5 and is also mentioned in GTA 4, The Ballad of Gay Tony. Jimmy is a renowned member of the Epsilon program. He appears in a mission where he asks Michael to transport the Vellum plane to the Sandy Shores airstrip. Upon arriving at the airstrip, Jimmy asks if Michael has the money and the plane. Michael responds positively using the word kiflum, just that. Jimmy then says that Michael is almost a testament to the truth and that he is almost there. Jock Cranley. Jock Cranley is an actor and mayoral candidate in San Andreas within GTA 5. If the player goes to the exact location where Jolene Cranley was murdered, in addition to encountering the ghost, Jock's name will be written on the rock she is hovering over. He is likely a parody of the former United States President Donald Trump. Even though Trump was not president at the time GTA 5 was released, it is most likely a reference because on their website they have very similar speeches. Joe is a member of the Civil Border Patrol who, alongside his best friend Joseph, a Russian immigrant obsessed with America, hunt down supposed illegal immigrants to drive them back to their home countries. However, most of the time, the illegals they chase are naturalized American citizens of mainly Hispanic origin. In other words, they are just there causing trouble. Johnny Klebitz is the second protagonist in the GTA saga to be killed within the game, but he is the first to be murdered by another GTA protagonist. He is killed by Trevor Phillips, one of the protagonists in GTA 5, who later ends up wiping out all the members of the Lost MC in the region. Jolene Cranley, also known as the Ghost of Mount Gordo, is the late wife of Jock Cranley. She has a somewhat static look, always with her mouth open, and she stands on a rock in the shape of a ghost with Jock written in blood, clearly accusing her ex-husband of murder. This serves as an Easter egg and a clue for you to solve the murder. In the most updated version of the game, you can hear her screams at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. when the player is on foot in Mount Gordo. These sounds would likely be the same as when Jolene was thrown from the mountain. Joseph is a Russian who is fanatically obsessed with America and claims to be deeply patriotic. Joseph seems to have little knowledge of the history or culture of the United States, as he shouts, "God Save the Queen," or "For King and Country," the national anthem of the United Kingdom and a historic English war cry. And effectively, sometimes he says liberty, fraternity, and equality, which is the national motto of France. Occasionally, he can also be seen saluting with his right arm extended, apparently not knowing that it is a Nazi salute, like a completely clueless character. Josh Bernstein. Josh is a real estate broker from Los Santos who lives in Rockford Hills, and his company is struggling due to the economic decline, and also his license was revoked because of actions from his former business partner, if I'm not mistaken, Lenny Avery. Josh managed to convince his wife to prostitute herself in exchange for him being able to hire criminals to take down Lenny Avery's business and thus boost their own business. Just like Trevor catching his wife multiple times during the game, it's very strange, especially Trevor's reaction. Karen Daniels. She makes her first appearance when interrogating and torturing Ferdinand Kerimov. In this mission, Michael DeSanta is responsible for extracting him from the IAA headquarters with a rappel, gaining access through the building's window. What many people don't know about Karen Daniels is that in fact she is Michelle from GTA 4, who was Nico's girlfriend, but in a covert way, as she was only investigating him and a lot of things that were happening within the game. Karim Dens is a character that can be chosen as a driver in several heists in GTA 5. If you pick him for the first time in the FIB rooftop invasion and he has no experience yet, he will take longer to reach the pickup point and will show up in a black van. You will be forced into a shootout with a 4-star wanted level. However, if he already has some experience from the jewelry heist or other heists, he will instead show up in an ambulance and arrive on time. Carl Abolaji. Carl can only be selected in the mission The Big Score. He is a shooter with little experience and he will drop some gold bars while loading the cars, causing a loss of around $18 million for the team. If he is chosen for the subtle team as the second shooter, there will be no consequences for the heist. Kyle Chavez. Kyle Chavez is known for being a great tennis teacher in Los Santos, but he has a reputation for sleeping with all of his female students. Sometime later, Amanda reveals that Kyle fled Los Santos to get away from Michael. Kyle then never appears in the DeSanta family's lives again. However, if you go to his Life Invader profile, you will see several posts from other female students. Lacey Jonas. Lacey Jonas is a very famous actress who appears during a random event in GTA 5. A curiosity is that she is actually anorexic. During the conversation with the protagonist who is saving her, she believes she is fat and blames the fries she eats. According to her, she only sucks on the fries, but even so, that amounts to 100 calories. The media, such as radios, etc., satirize her about this, referring to her as a skeleton and writing things like "give this girl a sandwich" or something like that. Lamar Davis. Lamar Davis is a supporting character who is heavily involved in all the schemes of Los Santos and has a significant influence on the main storyline of the game. He is a character who would most likely have been used to replace a potential death of Franklin in a beta version of the game, but he was ultimately removed and remained as a secondary character. Laszlo Jones. Laszlo is the character who has appeared the most in GTA games throughout the series. He appears in 2 different universes, and in real life, he is the producer of GTA's radio station. In GTA 5, he not only hosts the show Chattersphere, I think that's the correct term, but he also hosts Fame or Shame. Leonora Johnson. Leonora Johnson is a character who was murdered in the game, and you can complete her mission by collecting 50 letter scraps and then finishing the final mission, where you can decide whether or not to kill Peter Dreyfuss. The curiosity here is that Leonora Johnson's murder is based on the Black Diamond murder story, which is a reference to the murder of Kay Amin, the former wife of Uganda's ex-president Idi Amin. At least that seems to be a reference, nothing confirmed by Rockstar. Lester Crest. Lester is one of the main characters in the game and responsible for many of the schemes shown in both story mode and online mode. One curiosity is that despite all of this, he was against planning the bank heist in North Yankton at the beginning of the game in the prologue, probably because he knew it would go wrong. He just didn't know that all of this was orchestrated by Michael and everything else. Marnie Allen. Marnie Allen is a character from GTA 5 who is part of the Epsilon program. Besides introducing you to this world, she sends you several messages helping you out in the program. An interesting fact about her is that this character already appeared in GTA 4. In GTA 4, we can do 2 events for her, back when she was still a substance addict and such, not yet part of the Epsilon cult. Martin Madrazo. Martin Madrazo is the leader of a drug cartel called Madrazo Cartel, and so far so good, everyone knows that part. An interesting curiosity is that just like Michael, the guy he beats up at the beginning of the game, Martin Madrazo also becomes a cuckold in GTA 5. This is because in the Cayo Perico heist in GTA Online, we have confirmation that Patricia Madrazo actually cheated on him with Trevor. Marianne Quinn. Marianne appears in 3 different missions of Stranger and Freak called Exorcising Demon. Each of the protagonists can do missions with her, and after meeting her, they get her number. Or, if I'm not mistaken, only Trevor gets her number. However, even if you call, she will always be busy, and you can add her on Life Invader. In fact, the game automatically adds her. It would be really cool if she could become Trevor's girlfriend, since Trevor is completely fallen for her. Maud Eklest. Maud is a trusted woman of Trevor, who gives him several Stranger and Freaks missions to hunt down fugitives throughout the game. She lives on a small farm on the outskirts of Sandy Shores. Rumors say she is a retired hacker. I don't think it makes much sense, but oh well. Maxim Rashkovsky, I think that would be the correct pronunciation. Rashkovsky was a research chief for the military. He and Dima Popov owned a pharmaceutical company that controlled the Humane Labs. According to Agent 14, Rashkovsky has 3 PhDs and is also a sociopathic egomaniac, maniac, weapons developer, engineer, geneticist, and car thief. He is also described by Agent 14 as not being a normal person. Mechanic. The mechanic who is available in GTA Online to bring us our cars. Normally we can't see his face, but if you go into the dialogue section through the in-game menu, you will be able to see exactly what the mechanic looks like. I don't know why Rockstar decided not to include his photo in the phone, but they ended up leaving it in the menu for everyone to take a look. Melvin. Melvin is an employee at Amu Nation, located in Sandy Shores. He claims to have no real friends or family in Sandy Shores because he has several small dialogues, although he once claimed to have asked Maud out and she rejected him. That's why he is portrayed as a somewhat depressed individual when talking to any of the protagonists, especially Trevor, because he is very afraid of Trevor. Merle Abrahams. Merle Abrahams is known as the Infinity Killer in the game, but an interesting fact is that most likely he is not the real Infinity Killer. This is because the letters say that he killed 8 men, and in reality there are 8 women there in the part of the map where we can find the bodies. So there are theories that suggest that maybe this guy was not the only Infinity Killer, or that he was just coerced into doing what he did. Michael DeSanta? Michael in the beta version was a bit older, being around 50 to 60 years old. In the final version, his age dropped to 45 and 48, and his facial structure also changed, as in the beta Michael had many wrinkles and no eyelashes. However, now he has that in the final version. Molly Schultz. Molly is a lawyer who works with Devin Weston, and she takes part in some missions in the game. During the Pac-Man mission, if the player decides to threaten Molly with a gun, she will mention that she has a daughter in Rockford Hills. That's pretty interesting, man. I didn't know that. Natalia Zverovna, I think that would be the correct pronunciation. Natalia Zverovna is a character from GTA 5 appearing as a supporting character during the main story. She is the lover of Martin Madrazo, who appears right at the beginning. Little is known about this character, but one curiosity is that in fact she is Russian. However, there are no dates of when she arrived in Los Santos. Nigel. Nigel is a character from GTA 5 who appears in the Stranger and Freaks mission, which is a series of 4 or 5 missions. He is a British tourist in Los Santos, and many people assume he is married to Miss Thornhill. However, if you pay a little attention to the dialogues, you will see that they are not married. In fact, they are just friends obsessed with celebrity stuff. Norm Richards. Norm Richards is one of the characters who is usually used as a shooter in Heist. He shares the same last name as Solomon Richards, but has nothing to do with him at all. Norm Richards knows that Michael changed his name from Townley to DeSanta. He mentions this when chosen for the jewelry heist, and Michael will tell him to stay quiet, to which Norm responds, don't worry man, your secrets are safe with us. Omega. Omega is a character who appears to us as an alien conspiracy theorist. He gives us a mission to collect 50 spaceship parts, and in exchange, he leaves a reward for us at the end. A curious fact about him is that the device he uses during the mission where we first meet him apparently is the same one used by the members of the Epsilon program, in this case Jimmy Boston. Ortega. Ortega is one of the leaders of the Los Aztecas gang living in a trailer near the banks of the Zancudo River, commanding that part of the area. In the mission Mr. Phillips, the player is given the option to kill him or not. If the player does not kill Ortega in this mission, he and the Aztecas return during the mission Trevor Phillips Industries and will invade Trevor's methamphetamine factory, starting a shootout against him. However, Trevor ends up killing him anyway, whether in the mission Mr. Phillips or in the mission Trevor Phillips Industries. Paige Harris. Paige is a professional hacker whose profile states that she is very skilled. She charges a steep 15% and is usually the best hacker choice in the game, a choice based on skill rather than cost effectiveness. A curious fact about her is that during a mission it is revealed that she is also Lester's assistant, and she is very condescending towards Lester and the characters in the online heist. Patricia Madrazo. Patricia Madrazo is a character who is kidnapped by Trevor Phillips during the mission Caída Libre. After that, she develops Stockholm Syndrome and later falls in love with Trevor, where they maintain an intimate relationship for a long time, which ends up being exposed to her son Miguel Madrazo in GTA Online during the Cayo Perico heist. Patrick McCready. In GTA 5, Patrick, who is a well-known character from GTA 4, can be chosen as one of the helpers for heists operation. He will be unlocked after you perform a random event where you can help him and a companion to escape from a robbery. If you choose him during the Paleto Bay heist, he will mention his big bank robbery in Liberty City and also make some reference to Nico Bellic. Peter Dreyfuss. Peter Dreyfuss, in addition to the mentions he has within the game, is known for having murdered Leonora Johnson. In the end, after completing the 50 letter scraps, you can visit Peter's house and confront him about the discovery. Regardless of the player's choice to kill him or not, at the end of the mission, Weasel News will report that Peter Dreyfuss was killed. This may be just a Rockstar oversight or a hint that killing him is the canonical option. Poppy Mitchell. Poppy is an American actress who stars in romantic comedy films, and Luis Lopez still calls her America's favorite daughter. However, Poppy Mitchell also has a party lifestyle that she tries to keep private, which Beverly ends up discovering, and many players believe she was inspired by the American actress Lindsay Lohan, a very famous actress from the 2000s who faced several controversies in real life. Ricky Luckins. Ricky is one of the secondary characters that appear during the game, and you can use them in heists as a hacker. However, he has the lowest initial stats of all hackers and also the smallest cut, being the cheapest hacker. However, as you gain experience with him, he becomes much more competent, does his part without any issues, and manages to maintain the same price. A very strange part about this guy is how he was a hacker and needed Michael's help at the beginning of the game at Life Invader to close pop-ups. Rocco Pelosi. Rocco Pelosi is a character that we can beat up using the protagonist Michael during a mission for Solomon Richards. The cool and interesting thing about this is that he also appears in GTA 4, specifically in the DLC Ballad of Gay Tony, where he is an Italian-American gangster and later works for the family as a loan shark, one of the executives of the Ancelotti, etc. Ron Jakowski. Ron is completely obsessed with Trevor throughout the game, as Trevor treats him very poorly, and yet he remains loyal. Ron's loyalty goes far beyond the fear he has of Trevor, because if you decide to kill Trevor in the end, the person who would represent a danger to him ends up sending messages to Michael afterwards, criticizing him for what he did and calling him a traitor. Michael ends up responding, saying that message must be spam. Ryan Phillips. Ryan Phillips is a character mentioned in GTA 5. He is the brother of one of the protagonists, Trevor Phillips. If you go with Trevor to talk to the Vinewood zombie, Trevor will end up saying that his brother died, but that it was an accident and he had nothing to do with it. Solomon Richards. Solomon Richards is a character in GTA 5. He appears as a supporting character in the main story and had a somewhat complicated relationship with one of the most famous actresses of the time, Leonora Johnson. She considered him a fake of his father and refused to complete a film he was producing at that time due to some artistic differences and a strong dislike for Leonora. Eventually, Solomon became one of the suspects for her murder at the time. However, later on, everyone ends up finding out that it was actually Peter Dreyfuss. Mrs. Phillips is Trevor's mother and Ryan Phillips' brother. In this mission, where Trevor meets his mother in the trailer, forces him to steal a van, and as soon as Trevor returns, she is nowhere to be found. There is an allegation or a theory, let's say, that Mrs. Phillips in fact was never there. Maybe she has already been murdered by Trevor and that was just a crazy hallucination in his head. This is because this mission cannot be repeated and we never see her mentioned again in the game. Mrs. Thornhill, just like Nigel, she is obsessed with celebrities and spends her time in Los Santos, chasing after several of them and stealing some of their belongings to add to her collection. According to Nigel, Mrs. Thornhill is married and has 2 children in England, but she rarely sees them since they both started hunting for celebrity memorabilia. Sue Murray is a candidate for the governor of the state of San Andreas, competing with Jock Cranley. Many people believe she is a parody of former United States presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Steve Haynes is one of the antagonists of the game, and despite being a character that really annoys the protagonists, we can see that, above all, he is a patriot who loves his country and would do anything for it. Of course, everything he does is also for his career. Tahir Javan is a secondary character that appears in the mission By the Book in GTA 5. According to the FIB, he is part of a terrorist organization, as many facts within the game indicate that he was close to these guys like Mr. K. However, if you dig a little deeper into all this FIB and IAA mess, you will see that he was profiled just because of the country where he was born and some characteristic. In fact, most likely, he was not involved in any of this and died innocently. Taliana Martinez is a character in GTA 5 that appears in a random event called Crash Risk. After encountering her, she can become a getaway driver with high skills and will be the cheapest option. However, you need to save her very quickly because if you don't arrive fast enough at her house, she may die and won't be available as a driver anymore. Tanisha is Franklin Clinton's ex-girlfriend and a very secondary or tertiary character in GTA 5. Even though several times throughout the game she says she's no longer interested in Franklin because of his criminal life and all that, in the Contract DLC we can see that they somehow got back together and now even have children. Tao Cheng is a character who appears in GTA 5 and he is the son of Wei Cheng, who is the leader of the Triad and all that. A curious fact about him is that probably he should have died in the end in option C, where we kill his father Wei Cheng. However, his father was using his card, so we can deduce that they were together. But during a mission in GTA Online, Tao Cheng goes to Pacific Bluffs and he says that he was almost killed in that club once, never again. This refers to the mission in option C where Franklin drives to kill them both. It is not explained how he manages to survive, but everything indicates that Tao Cheng was there when we killed his father and somehow he survived. Tavel Clinton is a character from GTA 5, cousin of the game's protagonist Franklin Clinton and nephew of Denise Clinton respectively. A curious fact is that in his Life Invader status updates, he mentions that he is a former member of the same gang as Franklin, the Chamberlain gangster family. Tim is a character that can be found in a random event. He is stranded with a broken rental car near the highway and asks for a ride. Once you give him a ride, you have to take him to the airport as fast as possible. If you arrive at the airport before time runs out, Tim will give you a tip to invest in the Times de Balzac company, and in fact, if you invest in this company, you can increase your total value by around 33%. Tom is a character who is also part of the Epsilon and appears in the mission Delivering the Truth for Michael DeSanta, delivering a blue vellum to Jimmy Boston at the airstrip in Sandy Shores, and later in the mission Exercising the Truth, he also appears to give Michael the task of running 8 kilometers in the desert. Tonya is Franklin's childhood friend and works with her boyfriend JB, who we never see, etc. There's a very interesting curiosity about her. She doesn't just interact with Franklin in the game. Like several other characters in the game, she can also interact with Trevor and Michael, and the funny thing here is that when she interacts with Trevor, he says he wouldn't sleep with her even if he were dead. Tracy is Michael DeSanta's daughter and she is extremely spoiled for most of the game. An interesting fact about her is that she goes to Fame or Shame and does a dance that seems to be simply random at first. However, if you come to Michael's house before the Fame or Shame mission and you watch some random things happening inside the house, you can see her practicing perfectly to do the same scene she will do later in the mission. Trevor Phillips is the protagonist character of GTA 5 and he is known as a former thief, criminal, etc. etc. An interesting fact about Trevor is that he was supposed to be an Air Force pilot, but he didn't make it because, according to him, a witch called psychologist or psychiatrist ended up failing him, condemning him to always stay on the ground, which makes no sense since he is the guy who spends the most time in the air in the game, Ursula. Ursula is one of the game's girlfriends that can be found in the desert, right south of Mount Chiliad. Once the player finds her and talks to her, they may notice that she has a propensity to commit some murders. Most likely she must have killed her mother, the gardener, and a few other people. There is a cross very close to the mountain that indicates that it was probably Ursula who killed someone and buried them so that no one would find out. Wade Rebert. Wade is a secondary character within GTA 5. He's a guy who works there kind of like an assistant to Trevor. An interesting fact about him is that when he and Trevor met, Wade was going to buy substances with his friends, and after that, those friends were never seen again, indicating that Trevor most likely killed them and took Wade to be his assistant. And for some reason, Trevor already knew that Wade would obey him or something like that. Wei Cheng is one of the antagonists in GTA 5. You can assassinate him in option C. He is a Chinese mobster born in Yangshan. Along with his son Tao Cheng, they own the Los Santos Triads, who are mainly involved in arms smuggling and methamphetamine manufacturing. An interesting fact about him and the Triads is that he had known about Trevor, Michael, and Patricia for a long time. However, he kidnapped Michael thinking that Michael is actually Trevor's boyfriend, because during the time the three of them are living in the trailer, he believes that Patricia Madrazo is their maid and that the two are a couple living there in the desert, hidden. Which to me doesn't make much sense. How did he come to that conclusion? But oh well. 111, and that's a fact about each character in GTA 5. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was really hard work to make, and definitely there might have been one or another character missing. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to watch the video about a curiosity on each mission of GTA 5. There are scenes from the beta of GTA 5 in the missions that are amazing. To watch, click here next to the yellow arrow and to not miss out. And that's it guys, I hope you liked it. Success, cheers, and until the next video.